So it's important to me in doing some of these conversations is realizing that God has put really interesting, intriguing people in my life, and they all have stories. And one of those guys is my buddy Clay, right? We live in the same neighborhood. Our kids play together. His wife attends my wife's Bible study. Clay's involved in my Bible study. But Clay's got an incredible story, and Clay Hamm's a guy that I'm blessed that that our paths ended up being that we live in the same neighborhood together. So my conversation today is pretty cool. We get to interact with Clay just about his story of going through the military, leaving the military, and pursuing education just because he had some GI Bill left over. Really, the pursuit of knowledge and information, and his desire to be just a guy that impacts the world, impacts our community for the sake of our kids, and doesn't really sit along and just let our culture sacrifice our children to the world. So, really pumped for this conversation. I think you guys are going to like it. I know there's some stuff you can't tell us, which makes this very exciting for me because I want to explore the very edges of what you're allowed to tell me. But so you served in the military. So tell me the military part of your life. Like, these are things I genuinely don't know about you. Like, why the military? Why specifically the Air Force? Like, how did that all happen?
Yeah.
And, how long did you serve? Give us what are the details on that?
I'm a native Nashvilleian. I was tooling around in Nashville. I kind of bounced around in the fitness industry, personal training and sales and management, So I was always working out, and eventually I just got older, and I'd had enough of Nashville. I needed a break, and I wanted some adventure, and I wanted to. Before I couldn't use my body anymore, I wanted to go give it a go, and see, and I just joined. And so I was a little older than the average recruit. I was deep into my 20s. And I applied for special operations. There's this little niche job in there. And
so you were the old dude who showed up? And
yeah.
Just applied for special ops?
Oh, yeah. My instructor. Now, I didn't look it. I didn't have gray in my beard, and you're not allowed a beard. But I remember in basic training, my military training instructor had no idea how old I was. She just thought I looked like a kid too. I mean, I was in my 20s. I think I was 28 or 29. But when she finally, decided to open my record and saw that I was like almost 30, I was like a couple years older than she was. She started calling me grandpa, which, when you're around a bunch of 18-year-old kids and you're 29, or I think I was 29. I may have turned 30 while I was there. It's the joke, right? It's like,
So
all right, grandpa. 2007?
Early 40s right now?
2000, yeah, I'm 45.
Okay, mid-40s. Right.
So this is 2007.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I joined at like I said, I think I turned 30 at basic or right thereafter. And then I go off to my special operations training. And I just kept getting hurt. I stuck it out. I had a lot of heart, but I just kept getting hurt in the training. And so the guys, they liked me. They call them cadre, the training instructors. And you look up to these guys. These guys are like the hoorah,
They're the dudes.
They're the dudes. And, I don't have this Jocko Willink story. I have this story of like, I went in trying to do that, and I got hurt. And they liked me, and they could tell I was, there's a type and then there's not a type. And then, they'll pull you to the side, and they'll like, hey, man, we like you. You got, but you're hurt. You got to get your shoulders fixed. And I'll be honest, I heard a bunch of nightmare stories about military medicine. And they were like, you need shoulder surgery, and we'll do it for you. I was like, no, you won't.
No, you're not.
And honestly, I ended up in medical after the fact, and I am so glad I did that. Because for every one good story, you hear 10 that's like, oh, they jacked me up. I've got a permanent limp now, or whatever. I don't want to, sorry, military, but you got to work on that.
Went in to fix my shoulder,
yeah.
And cut off my arm.
So, I just pulled the plug. I was just like, these are your options. You can go get fixed and come back squared away, or you can just go out into, because the special operations community is this small little community, or you can just go into the big Air Force is what they call it. And I was like, I don't want to go there, but I'm not having a surgery. I'm not doing all, so I'll just go. And then you're what they call open general. You're on the market then in the military according to your ASVAB, which is essentially an IQ test. And I didn't think that mattered at the time, but I did pretty good on my test, and I got into this little microbiology. They stuck me in. I'm like, I'm going where? I don't even know what that is. And so they sent me to this 3-year-long tech school, and that's when I learned, like, oh, you're not a big dummy. I was like, up to that point, I'd just been the guy that works out. I was big, strong, and fast. And
Gotcha.
And then I ended up in this thing, and I learned how to study. And I learned, and it was do or die. It was like, get this material, information fire hose, or you go back home. And I was like, all right, I'll learn it. And note cards, the whole nine. And it was very difficult to learn. And it took a long time, but I learned to use a different part of me, which was my brain, and to study. And so that's a general. And then
What'd you end up doing?
Clinical microbiology. I was stationed down in Florida, and yeah.
So the big, strong, fast guy became a clinical microbiologist?
Well, I was a technician, so I was an enlisted guy. But yeah, at the very bottom of that hierarchy of microbiology, there's doctors over you, and
Sure.
med techs that had degrees and stuff. But I was the guy, and and up until that point, I was just a.
But what does
average.
what does that do in the Air Force? Like, what do you do in the Air Force?
Well, no, they have
You're
everything.
Like, look, we discovered a new.
They have every job in the world. It's. They have everything. They have doctors and lawyers and bread makers and candlestick makers. They've got it across the board. Everything that's out there.
If that was true, I would have been a baker. In the
Yeah.
Don't exaggerate.
So
I would have been a boss Air Force.
Yeah,
like, what is this? It's a fresh ciabatta.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Well, all those military members.
Rosemary.
All those military.
I'm forever just going to be a baker.
He's just riffing on the bacon.
Oh, never giving this up, dude. Never giving it up. But, all right, yeah, go on.
Well, those people need medical care, right? Across the board. And so when you work in a hospital, you got to keep people up to par. And, part of that is the clinical micro part. And so that's part of the support element of the military.
Gotcha.
Which is, the back end of all the people that you see up front that are flying airplanes and, jumping out of them, and all the people in between. That you've got the intel guy, those forward. There's the guys in the back, or girls, or whatever, that are supporting them medically, administratively, finance, personnel, making sure everything's buttoned up. And then, there's a huge population of retirees around Air Force bases, and they still go in and get serviced at the hospitals and stuff. So I worked there I did that for a few years.
Did you train longer than you not trained?
I don't understand.
Say that in another way.
You said you went for Special Forces. You did training.
Yeah.
And then that didn't work, so then you got into a 3-year program.
So what they do, they cross-trained me into microbiology, into another job. I basically pulled the plug on the dream of being a special operations guy, and I went into that other job that was a 3-year long to be fully trained in.
So that's what I'm saying. Did you spend more time getting fully trained than you actually did doing the job?
No. I actually stayed in that laboratory world for, I think it was 5 or 6 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was just doing the math on I joined and then I trained for this. No, I didn't do it, so I cross-trained.
For 4, 5 years or so. And then I had an opportunity, and I kind of came back into that other world a little bit. I cross-trained again, and I became a fireman, which I thought I'd regained my manhood at that point.
Got out of the lab.
Yeah. But in doing so, it was invaluable because I learned more about myself. And in fact, I learned how to study and
Is this where you
express
became
that
the
self.
intellectual that you are now? Was that kind of at least opened up that process in your brain and that understanding of how
Yeah.
to dissect information and retain information? Because you're a freak of nature when it comes to that today at 45 years old. But is that where that comes from?
I've always been a reader
Okay.
and I always tested well. But I knew that there were certain parts of me that I was like, I didn't have a bachelor's degree at this point. I went into the military. Before I joined, I think I went and did 3 years of college,
Okay.
bounced out. I was like, this isn't for me. I had no work ethic, just to be frank. If ever I bumped up against the point at which I had to actually study, that was when I stopped. And so having gone to that other school, I had to study. I had to learn how to work and study and grind it out. And that was the first time I'd ever done it. And it opened up a lot of things in my own head for as far as like what I thought I was capable of. And so again, I came back to the fire thing, but I wasn't super satisfied with that. Like now it was like, okay, just to be, sorry guys, but like at this point I'd been around all these smart people and now I'm in a fire hall and I was just like, these guys are nice. And but it was a different conversation. Let's just put it that way.
Sure.
It was a different conversation. And I was like, what?
You went from
I want more.
stereotype as kind of
Yeah.
these really
It was the nerds.
brainy to
Yeah.
to now kind of some blue collar grunts.
Yes. And there's nothing wrong
Yeah,
with
no
blue collar
shade.
grunts.
Yeah, no shade.
No
I
shade.
mean,
And
we need all types,
in
bro.
those groups of blue collar grunts, there were other dudes that were like me that you could just tell they were smarter. But across the board as a whole, it's a bunch of blue collar dudes that like they're never going to go finish school. They're going to do that,
Right on.
And I don't know. I felt like a man with no home because I came from a blue collar background.
Right.
I grew up in the nations. My parents didn't go to college. I just wasn't familiar with that world.
Do you want to explain how the Nations is like this really high end,
Yeah,
beautiful place?
yeah, or what it used to be. Yeah, yeah. No, mortgage industry loves it now, but
Now,
yeah, but when
hear
I
it.
grew up there,
Not
it was
quite the
it was
same.
it was basically the white ghetto next to the North Nashville ghetto, where Jefferson Street butts up against that. It was this historically white Scots Irish gnarly little neighborhood. A lot of drugs, like a lot of fighting. And I grew up there.
Sounds Irish.
Yeah, a lot of Irish, a lot of Scots Irish, a lot of that. Appalachian people coming down.
Those are
Yeah,
that's my mom's family.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
my mom's kin.
Those people coming out of the mountains 100 years or more ago, looking for work in the cities, and that's what made up that neighborhood.
So how long do you spend doing the fire department?
So I was nearing.
Service, I guess.
So I'd gotten out of active duty and I'd gone into the reserves and I'd bounced into a guard unit, and it gets a little convoluted once you get into that world because you have like a full-time job and then you have your guard thing. But I went into the reserves and I cross-trained to firefighting, and I was there for a while, and it's still in Florida. And then I got a hankering. I wanted to move back home, and so I moved back here and I transferred militarily up to this unit in town, in Nashville. And so there I came, and I had all these jobs that I'd done, but it was a smaller unit, and they're like, we don't have those jobs.
They didn't need a microbiologist.
No. I asked because I was like, I'm just trying to find a home here, and I just wanted to be back here. And so no, they didn't. So I was there for a while as a fireman. And they kept, saying, oh, yeah, we're going to figure out a way to make it work. But it just, it never did. And I think it honestly took like 2 years of me at that unit before they finally, all right, we need to cross-train you and get you in a actual job. So I cross-trained again into just whatever I could go and knock it out. Because at this time I'd met my wife and we'd had our first child. And, she didn't want me to be gone for a year or whatever the next school was. So I just picked I think I did human resources.
Okay.
And it was like 6 weeks.
When did you What's your status with the Air Force right now?
Done.
Completely.
No, I was basically medically put out at 15 years. I'll be honest, the Joe Biden thing kind of pissed me off. The withdrawal from Afghanistan, and I couldn't, in good conscience, stay knowing, that he had done that, and a lot of the cultural things that we're dealing with now. The pronouns on your bio and all the things, right? Those things. I was starting to see those things crop up in emails from people.
Really?
You get these,
As early as
all branch emails. 2020, 2019, 2020. When was that withdrawal? 2021. And so when that happened, I took all my medical records and I sent them to the VA. And, blessings. They gave me the full enchilada right out of the gate. And that, I was only 15 years in at the time. And so I would have had to have done 5 more to get my retirement. But the VA took care of me. So I didn't have to deal with that. So I pulled chocks, as they say, and got out.
There's I had to look it up, man. That's why I keep the iPad around.
What'd you look up?
So when you're talking about the whole debacle that was Afghanistan, the withdrawal, the surrender of billions of dollars of equipment to people who want to use it against us simply because they nicely told, because we decided to believe the Taliban. Because, high level intel there. But so Tim Kennedy's story about him going back in to help with the evacuation. There's a documentary called Send Me on Prime.
Oh, yeah.
Would recommend.
Gotcha.
Would recommend.
Okay.
And Tim Kennedy's he was probably the first book that I got to I consume a ton of books. I do it all through Audible. Reading, I did the whole head trauma thing, coma deal, like real stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know that it's tied to that. I've always told that I'd struggle with like the short-term memory stuff. So reading comprehension's tough for me, but if I listen to it, it's a lot better. And his book, Scars and Stripes.
I've seen that, yeah.
I got to the end of that and I was like, well, that's dumb. Why is it over? First time I remember getting to a book where I was like, that wasn't just like a faith-based self-improvement, something about my own, like understanding myself. Those books I go through a ton. Yeah. But this was the first one where I was just like, someone, essentially it's a podcast in the form of a book, a dude just telling a story for a really long time. Right. And I got to the end, I'm like, this shouldn't be over. Why? That's dumb. Why didn't
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have more to tell me? Yeah. Like that
guy,
that's like Rick Prado. I'm going to blank on his book, but Rick Prado does his story about his whole life coming up to the CIA as a is he Mexican American, but like his story, wild. Would recommend. I've gone down a long rabbit trail that spurred off of the whole Tim Kennedy thing, but that insight into how that whole thing went down from his perspective, you're like, we didn't do that on accident.
Yeah.
We didn't do that on that. This doesn't need to be my...
it was like willful incompetence.
Right. Like, I'm a firm believer that the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth is 90 days.
Yeah.
But, like, so we don't need to do that.
Shortening.
Oh, it used to be 6 months.
It was 6 months, not 90 days.
It's like a...
It'll be like 72 hours.
It's 4 news cycles at this point.
Yeah. That's all they're trying to do. Man. And they know, well, it doesn't even take a news cycle because it's never going to make it to the news.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, at this point, it doesn't matter what set of 3 or 4 letters of news media, left, right, or indifferent. They're all like, well, if it comes up in the morning, we won't talk about it tonight, so who cares?
Yeah.
And, but shout out to Elon keeping it alive on Twitter. So
no
or
doubt.
X, I'm sorry.
No doubt, yeah.
But, all right, so you get out because you meet Amy.
I met Amy before I'd gotten out.
Right, you met her. You'd already had
had both kids.
But transitions happened.
Yeah.
You're becoming a family dude.
Yeah, I met her in 2015.
She's great, by the way. We love Amy.
Yeah, we love Amy.
Also, her baked goods are...
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's why I'm this size, but it's why I won't ever stop being this size.
Yeah,
I'm like, I have to lose weight. And then she's like, I got these sourdough brownies. And I'm like, yes, ma'am. I'm eating 6 of those.
Yeah, man.
Like a good transplant to the South. Yes, ma'am.
It's a good problem, though.
Oh, she
can cook.
Oh, silly.
Yep. Yep.
And my wife loves her.
It's a
So we
problem.
have to be friends for a really long time.
Yeah. Oh, it's lots of baked goods in our future.
Oh, and then our kids apparently are best friends.
That's right. He hugs him. Come here, and hugs him
hugging
before he
each other.
leaves. And he's like, "Bye."
Bye. Yeah. Well.
Like, we live one street over, bud.
Yeah, you're gonna see each other again. It's gonna be good.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So transition to family, dude. So like you get out, you get married, you got a couple kids now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but so what do you do leaving the military? Like, how do you leave the military?
Well, I got
You
a
got put
job
out.
that I can't go into.
But you can. Like, what do you do?
I can tell you that I exist.
What's your job detail? Who do you work
Yeah.
for? What's your daily
Yeah.
Employee ID
Hit
number.
record. Go.
Can we get can you show your ID to one of the cameras?
Yeah,
We'll pick
right.
it up. We got a couple.
Yeah. I got a job, and it's in the DEI space. Diversity, equity, inclusion, civil rights.
Which hold on.
Yeah.
So you are in the DEI, and you are okay.
Staunch conservative.
Yes, I want you to say because it's your job and your career.
Yep.
Or the lack of. This might be the end of it, but
Yeah. Yeah. No, I found this job, and
can you say
Leave it
like
at that.
what you do, like in as specific as you can, or as general or vague as it needs to be? Like, what do
generally
you do?
speaking, I investigate discrimination and disparity
Okay.
in this space. In it
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
yeah.
Right on. I want to ask so many questions, but I
Yeah.
don't want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So, can I ask, like, is that a new thing, or is that a role that, regardless of the trendiness, the mainstream, the culture that we've made, DEI, is that a role that's always existed within
No.
wherever, the capacity of where you work? Again, I don't know if it's agency or state or federal. These are things also you've not personally shared with me. So I
Yeah.
figured you weren't going to tell me with microphones, cameras, and lights in the room.
No.
Which I respect that. But like, is the role, whatever aspect you're in, does the timeline of the creation of that role go with the push mainstream culturally of DEI? In schools and in companies, I mean, heck, culture, it's everywhere.
I operate in a very particular space,
Okay.
but the role has been there. It cropped up as an enforcement arm after the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
Okay.
Shortly thereafter.
And while you're the staunch Republican that I know you to be, I mean, not you're.
I'm very Christian conservative.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Which basically
that's a much better way.
Yeah,
to say
which
it. You're a
lands
Christian
me
conservative.
in the Republican camp most of the time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
For now.
But I also know that you're a very thoughtful person, right? You're not just
Yeah,
blindly vote red because it's your color of choice.
99% of the politicians get on my nerves, left, right, and center.
100%.
Yeah.
It's because they're politicians.
Yeah, they're obnoxious.
Yeah, 100%. So
Sorry, but
is it safe to say, though, that there's probably parts of your job that are, even regardless of your beliefs and the how do I want to wear that? The kind of the catchiness of DEI.
Mm-hmm.
Like, most of your job, they're probably still, if it's the enforcement arm, I mean, regardless of how we, classify things, right? Like, discrimination's always happening places. I mean, we agree on that. I mean, like, just because people have preferences, right?
Yeah.
So if you got a preference one way, then you're going to neglect the other way.
Yeah.
Right. And unfortunately, whether you like it or not, you got to play by the rules that in a lot of capacities, there are guidelines on what you have to do regardless of your preference.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be room for some version of discrimination, whether it be gender or age or whatever, right? Yeah, race, sexual preference, whatever it may be. I got to imagine that you find some, like, hey, there is meaningful work here to be done, or you wouldn't stay there.
yeah, absolutely. No, it is. I am able to do my job according to my conscience, but there is a narrative that they prefer over others.
Gotcha. And those probably run into each other more often than you like.
Quite often. And in fact, it's a hammer in search of a nail, and there's just not many nails out there left.
Interesting.
There's just
Hammer in search of a nail.
Yeah, and they just it at times feels like ghost hunters, you know. And there's just if I'm frank, and since I haven't said where I work, there's not enough discrimination out there to even generally justify our existence.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Now, it pays my bills, but and I will probably move on at some point. But yeah,
Gotcha.
that's where I am now. Fact finding,
Yeah. What? I won't press. I'm not trying.
I'll tell you offline.
No, you're
Yeah,
good. But like,
yeah, as soon as it's over, I'll let you know.
Can we talk about adult Boy Scouts now?
Adult
What?
Boy Scouts?
no, hold on, pause. We're getting there,
Okay.
I don't
bro.
even know what that is.
Oh, you do because
Yeah.
it's the thing I'm most excited about and how we're going to launch it and how I want to support you in doing it.
Oh, the thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the thing.
The thing.
Yeah, we'll get
Yeah.
there. So, adult Boy Scouts.
Yeah,
By
it's
the way,
like-
not the name, not the
Yeah.
name we're going with. Man Scouts of America.
Well, in
Not
today's
there.
world, it could be like adult / Boy Scouts. It's like,
Hey man, you dress up as
People are
whatever
weird.
woodland creature you want.
do I get to bring my kitty litter box?
As long as you point it at Mecca, it's fine.
We just offended like 19 different groups of people.
No, look, because it's fun, and I don't care who you are, what you do, but I don't know.
I'm fine. I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
Press on.
I am too, man. Hopefully, shout out to HR. Sorry about that. No, but we're way too far in for them to be listening at this point.
Yeah.
They're like, we listened. It was good. 5 minutes. That was it. No. So hold on. All right. So you're in your, super secret squirrel job that you can't tell us about. Which is fine.
It's
You're
not
good.
super secret, but
get
it
that.
just, I could be,
Look, I don't need you to put yourself in a trick bag for us. Bro.
Yeah,
You're good,
no,
man, and I respect that. So, right. So, but you're in school though, right? Like, so
Yep.
so you talked about how you developed this. You were always a reader, but you really developed this like have to buckle down and and it sounds like all through 15 years of the Air Force, it's retrain. Okay, and then I cross trained and retrained. And
I
cross-trained and
cross-trained.
retrained, and then
Yeah.
so now you're back in school.
Yeah.
And you're a conservative Christian. Mm-hmm. Why are you in school?
Well, backing up a bit,
Sure.
I was still in the military, and it could be paid for while you're in. My wife and I both went together and did a undergraduate degree. Because, like I said, when I went into the military,
Couple years.
I hadn't finished. I'd done 2 or 3 years
So what did you round off the undergrad with when you and Amy went back?
psychology, and with a minor in religion.
Where was that at?
Same school I am now.
Tribeca.
Yeah,
Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, that would screw them. Trevecca.
Tribeca. Yeah, not Tribeca. That's like
Tribeca.
Tribeca is like a film festival.
Yeah.
It's
so
also I think it was a restaurant.
it was. They closed
Yeah.
down. That was in
Yeah.
Batavia,
It was
Illinois.
pretty tasty for
It was
a while.
good. Yeah, actually, Corey Bust, one of the first
Yeah.
realtors I ever worked with, was also a waitress there.
Yeah.
Bad
That's-
location.
Yeah, but so no, that was Tribella.
Oh yeah.
Dang it, Tribeca is the film festival, and Tribeca is where you go to college. So,
Tribeca.
Squirrel. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got your undergrad and
Did
you
my
still got
undergraduate.
some
Yeah.
GI
I had some GI Bill left over, and I gave half of mine to my wife, but I had a little bit left over when I finished.
You can give your GI.
yeah,
to your
you
wife?
can split it. You can give it to your kids.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
And this is the sad reality: when the VA gave me 100% disability, they all get it anyway. But I had already given her this, and she had already used it. So it was just play the cards. That's what I got. So,
So when you get your 100% disability,
Yeah.
your kids get
Yeah.
GI Bills.
it's called something different, but yeah, it's the equivalent of they get to go to school and they get to collect a BAH while they go, a basic allowance for housing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I didn't know
all
that at all.
tuition and
Well, good.
books.
Like, I'm sorry. I think we don't support our veterans and their families enough. So I'm not saying that makes it enough.
Yeah.
But it's nice to learn there's more benefits I wasn't familiar with.
I'll tell you, the VA gets a bad rap. I have had a pretty good experience from start to finish. I mean, there's always
Although you
hiccups.
weren't
I'll
willing
tell
to
you.
let them do shoulder
Yeah,
surgery.
yeah. That was the military.
Fair.
I just, it's bureaucracy and there's a lot of paperwork, but a lot of veterans don't want to deal with that stuff, and I get it. It's annoying, but if they did, it can pay off, and your family can be well taken care of.
I'll tell you,
So
I've been
I'm
down
happy
the road,
with it.
I've been down crazy rabbit trails on the phone with the VA. Like we do a bunch
Oh, mortgages.
yeah, I do a bunch of VA
Yeah,
loans.
VA
man.
loans.
And like, how like the qualification to get your VA home loan benefits are based on the points you've got to accrue. And then like I'll get discharge paperwork and whatnot come in, and it's like, and it'll be like recorded wrong and whatnot. And I've time and time again, I've gotten on the phone and it's not hard to find somebody that's like, hey man, we're going to get this worked out. We'll get this figured out with you. And they end up getting
At the VA.
Yeah, at the VA. And they've I'm not a veteran. I don't have a personal need. But anytime I call and I'm like, look, I'm just calling on behalf of a veteran. We're just trying to figure out we got to figure out their benefits. And this paperwork seems to be a little off or whatever. Mm-hmm. I've always found super helpful people that are like, yeah, I'll get you what you need. And they'll send me faxes and so they have been helpful to us.
Yeah.
I don't want to, I don't want it to seem like I'm giving the VA bad rap. I don't have the experience to be able to speak to it, but nevertheless, it's like, we're the country that, like, I get stuck in kind of this complex of like, I subscribe to we're too quick to take care of other countries' people, and we don't take care of ours. And we got veterans that sleep on the streets, and we got veterans that go without mental care. We got veterans who go without, who are in, I won't get into the details because I couldn't articulate them correctly, but get caught in this rock and a hard place with the VA and their benefits and what they're qualified for versus what they need. And, and all of a sudden they get stuck in limbo for years, or they get to 80-90% disability, and then the disability starts getting walked back because they don't have total and complete disability.
Yeah.
And, so it's like, and just like anything, nothing's perfect. Right. But if we were really going to strive to really hit something on the head and nail it, it should be that.
Yeah.
Right? Like the people who allow me to go home and go, I got a wife and 4 kids that are safe.
Yeah.
Right? Like between that and the safe that's next to my bed, our soldiers and my home protection, I feel pretty good about.
Yeah.
This. You know what I mean? But I'm still the guy that like, bro, can I tell you an awful story?
Sure.
Really funny but terrible, and this dude got me. I didn't tell you this. I was flying back. This was last Friday. I didn't tell him. I'm flying back from Chicago. I get on the plane, Southwest flight. I get on, and there's this kid had to be 18, 19 years old, but Navyman, right, in his blues. Maybe they're not called as blues, but they were blue. Right? So I'm going with blue.
They have so many uniforms I can't keep up. The Navy has like 10 sets of something.
That makes sense.
It's out of control.
His white hat sat on the seat between us, and no one sat between us. And I got on the plane, and he just he didn't look like he was going to Nashville to stay in Nashville.
Yeah.
He looked like he'd been traveling a while. I said, "Man, not your first flight, huh?" He goes, "No." I said, "Where's your final destination?" He goes, "Man, why you got to say it like that?" And I was like, holy crap, dude, I didn't mean to. And he goes, like I was saying, like, where are you going to die?
All I see is that truck
bro,
with
and
the
I'm
logs.
telling you, bro, you had logs? Like, he says that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, bro, like, that's not what I meant at all. He goes, I'm just messing with you, bro. Like, this dude was tired and did not miss the opportunity to just make me feel terrible
Rib
so
you a
he
little
could
bit.
get a laugh.
Rib you a little bit.
And then we talked for a little bit, and then he conked out. Like, all of a sudden, like, mid-conversation, he's snoring. I was like, oh, we're done. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, hey, man. And we got off the plane.
Tuck him in.
Yeah, well, no, there was no blankets. It's like an 18-minute flight from Chicago to Nashville.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get to cruising altitude. You can't watch movies on the headrests. Yeah. It's like you don't have enough time. Maybe check out these TV shows.
Yeah.
They give you your drink, you drink your soda, and then they get to the back of the plane, they come back up, and they take it away.
We are descending.
I flew. I'll get, if I fly by myself, I'll get the United first class upgrades, just because they're like $30, and so I'll get the upgrades. I fly enough, and I do the point thing. I maneuver the point thing. I've gotten pretty good at that.
Yeah.
And And yeah, so it's the only time I've ever sat first class is the solo flight between Nashville and Chicago because I do it quite a bit, and I've like a real glass.
Yeah.
Right? Here's a real glass.
Oh.
I can't finish the real glass before they're like, "Sir, we have to collect the dishes."
It's like a
I feel
10-minute
like-
period we can actually
Yeah, I feel
distribute
like you
stuff.
shouldn't have brought these out. You could have kept the fine china
yeah.
and skipped doing the dishes.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. But all right, so here I digress. But anyway, so like, but yeah, that kid, dude, this kid, he had to be 18 feet tall. Yeah,
Big guy.
Yeah, just and yeah, why you got to say that? And I was
said-
like, oh my gosh,
That's funny.
and he got me. He's man, I hope he's good. So. But but it was cool. We got done, fist bumped him. We prayed a little bit together and got off the plane. Cool, good kid, man.
Good for you.
So, but I'm that guy that's just like, no, like thanks, man. Like I'm sorry, you probably get tired of people saying thanks for your service, but like I mean it because you know what, I wasn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't put together enough as an 18-year-old to go and serve my country. At 18 years old, I had a pregnant girlfriend. I was heading to the freaking altar, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a spectrum.
I was
Some
an idiot,
people
man.
go to get put together. Some people show up ready to go. I mean, it's a mixed bag of people. Some people are court appointed back in the day. Yeah.
Yo,
Yeah. Hey, son.
really?
Oh,
Court
yeah.
appointed?
They get dragged in
Yeah.
front of a judge.
I don't know this.
With
I don't-
charges and you know,
hoping you're
generally
ignorant to stuff.
it's not too crazy. Usually
Yeah.
it's like
They're not like serial killer. Hannibal Lecter
Usually
didn't
it's
get
like-
sent to the Navy.
No.
It's
Okay.
the
but it's
your
generally-
Did you
parents
see Hannibal
can't
as a-
control
in
you.
the Marines though.
who?
Hannibal Lecter, like sent to the Marine Corps. Oh, yeah. I mean, I did just take a fictional character and put him in the story.
That's
No, it was
funny.
like
That would make a good Marine.
your parents can't control you. You've been roughhousing with your friends. You spray painted a this
Yeah,
or
vandalism. It's generally something,
You've
know,
got that
menial.
huge rap sheet.
Yeah, and it's
You
like
need
this is
some
your
discipline in
it's
your
your
life.
first charge, your second charge, and the judge. Hey,
couple
you're going
car
down the wrong.
stereos.
You're going down the wrong road. Here are your options. You can go to jail for 30 days, or you can go serve in the fill a blank. Pick one, and whoever will have you. And generally, the judge will drop it all if they go and I've met many people that not
That's how they got it.
not the Air Force. I don't think that ever happened. But there's and no.
You got to be smart to get to the Air Force.
Smart is relative, but I think the ASVAB it's a little higher. But that's the thing. You have intel guys in the Army that are just as smart as the intel guys in the Air Force. I think it's just the jobs that are available in the Air Force don't dip down to where some of the to be a grunt infantryman. No offense, those guys are the backbone of the military, but you don't have to be very intelligent to be able to do that. There are very intelligent people there, though, but you don't need to be. It doesn't
Right. It's not a
necessitate
necess-
a high
yeah,
IQ.
necessity.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
Like our buddy Mark Tavanier, he served in the Army. Born in Britain, parents bring him over here as a kid, as a baby, like 2, 3, 4 years old, whatever, toddler we'll call him.
sign him up.
And he's he served in the Army. I want to say like he was just over his 4 years. Went to get out, got stop lost for another. If I remember correctly, it was like 14 months, right? And but he talks about how he got out of when he got out of high school, didn't know what he wanted to do, and then he was like, you know what, I'm gonna go be a fighter pilot. And they were like, you're not smart enough. He's like, they told me I was a dummy, and I ended up in
The Air Force did?
Yeah.
I'll never forget, man. I had gone and taken my ASVAB test, which is the IQ test for all intents and purposes. And it's an official print off in an official envelope. And I left that facility and I came back to my recruiter and I handed it to him. He opens it up. He goes, "Oh man, these are great. You can do any job in the Air Force." And I was like, "Awesome." I didn't know what it meant though. You're so new to it at a recruiter's office. I never had anybody. My grandfather was drafted for the Korean War. Other than that, nothing, nobody. So I was flying blind. And so I was like, okay, I can do all the jobs. I didn't know there was like a possibility that I wasn't able to.
Right. You didn't realize there was like a qualifier.
Yeah, I just thought you're like making sure I wasn't like mentally deficient, but there's like grades.
You
on
know
it,
your
like,
colors. You can fit the round tube into the round
it's
hole.
like, if you're in this column, you can do all the jobs. If you're in this column, you can do these jobs, but not up to, they have it all graded out. Sure. And then, and I'll never forget, I was sitting there and I got the good news, didn't know what it meant. And this little kid, he was probably 18 or 20. He walks in and he hands him his thing, like over my shoulder, right? And he was so fired up. And the guy opens it, right? And he goes, "Sorry, kid, the Marines office is down the hallway." Just as
How many times has that recruiter done that though? To where it's just like you can't get caught up in the emotion of the unit.
Yeah, he just
hey,
he goes,
"Sorry, kid."
He goes, "Sorry, man, the Marines office is down the hallway." And I was like, "Oof."
I had a buddy in high school who took a scholarship to go play football at Northern Illinois University. And these were during like the good Joe Novak days, Garrett Wolf days, right? Early 2005, 6 days.
Yeah.
And I won't say his name because I don't want to put him on Front Street. Although no one's ever going to listen to this, so I'm cool with it. But but my buddy got a scholarship, goes to NIU, play football, legit athlete. I mean, this is dude. White boy running a 4.3.
Yeah.
A burner.
Yeah.
Outside linebacker, tailback, high school, Midwest high school football stuff, right?
Yeah.
So finishes his first semester of high school, gets kicked off the football team, gets a scholarship revoked, and finishes all of his classes with a DNC, did not complete.
I see what's in
and because Adam and I were kind of it's fine. Adam and I sorry buddy. Adam and I did it the same way. We were we were smart kids. I had a 29 on my ACTs, 1.84 overall GPA. I just didn't like school.
Yeah,
I was good.
That's a lot of people.
Being smart, that was easy. Like I was smart. I hated the process of school. I'm not a pro. Yeah. I'm not pro schooling. I'm not pro the model of school.
Yeah.
But he was like his dad was like, "If you want to be a big dummy, you need to go to the military." And Adam's like, "Great. Where do I get to go do the most reckless stuff?" And the recruiter's like, "Marines office down the hall." So that dude, he did his thing.
Yeah,
he did a good career in the Marine Corps. But that boy was run through that brick wall. He's like, "Okay, did you want me to knock it all the way down or just like a body shape?"
Be specific,
right? You looking for a road runner thing? Or you want the whole wall to come down? That's who he was, man.
That's what they want. That's what they need.
And he was. He was that dude. Like, you want to smoke cigars on tank in the Middle East? I'm pumped for that photo op. Like, okay, we love you. Thank you for keeping us safe.
Yeah, and I tell that story not to the Marines are what they are. In fact,
as necessary as they come, man.
One of the smartest humans I know, double graduate from Stanford Engineering, was a Marine. Like they're just
bad dudes.
They're the full gamut of people.
Bad dudes.
The full gamut of people. So that's what it is. But they will take you at a lower. They will bring you in to develop you.
They have more jobs.
Yeah, they do. They
have more room for
and the jobs aren't technical. It's like, hey, I need you to be fit. I need you to be strong. I need you to be able to carry a weapon, load it, unload it, fix it when it breaks.
You fight me
simple
for a big dummy.
Yeah.
Dude, the fact that this guy, for context, right? So we get done with men's ministry stuff. We get done, and I run our men's ministry. Obviously, I know you know this, but I just want to make sure we disclaim this because I really feel
to
like
the audience.
Yeah, I feel like I just called the Marine Corps big dummies, and I did not. So context. I get done speaking. I get off stage, and at our church men's breakfast, we got 125 guys breakfast. Clay walks up to me and goes, "You talk pretty for a big dummy." So now I need that T-shirt.
Yeah,
I need a T-shirt, and I expect it. By the way, in a 2X. Yeah. I prefer a poly cotton blend, not 100% cotton.
Yeah,
I'm not doing that ring spun pre-washed BS.
Yeah,
don't bring me that crap. I'll send your hands to the trash.
Yeah.
So I'll be waiting on my T-shirt, Clay.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get back on Clay's track, Clay's life. So now you're back in school. Because you got some GI, but what are you studying? Like,
I'll tell you,
get to that.
I was intimidated at one point in my life of going back because I was like, I don't know how to formally write a paper. like there's formatting.
Still don't know how to do
There's
that.
like
No idea.
there's like these.
Also-
there's the MLA. There's the APA. There's like what are they? gonna
MLA is
make
the
me
standard
do?
still, right?
It depends on what type of school, what you're studying. There's all sorts.
Who
of
you're writing the paper for.
The different studies
I
have
remember
different.
failing to abide by the MLA.
Oh,
in
high
college.
school is just
I
like
dropped out of 2
written
colleges,
paper and just
mostly because I couldn't write paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, dropped
And I was intimidated, but for whatever reason, I don't know why. I mean, it's honestly, once you get it formatted, it's pretty easy and simple, and you get your settings and margins set on
ChatGPT did
on
that
your
for you now,
Word.
bro.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, but I was legit intimidated by that. I was like, I know I have thoughts in my head. I love to read, but there was something about the formality of school that was just an impediment to me. But having gone through all that other stuff, and like, I have learned so many things like that were so much more infinitely harder than formatting a page. Like, I will figure this out.
Sure.
I'll build the airplane
Build
while
the
I'm
plane
in the air.
In the air.
Yeah, like I'm matriculating. I'm going to school, and so I went back to school. I finished my bachelor's degree. Had some GI Bill left over in my undergraduate.
When
I
did
wrote
you finish
paper.
when did you finish the bachelor's, just for time?
2019,
Okay. Because we meet in
21.
we closed on our house late 21, so we'd have met like 22.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds right. So, finished that late in life. I think I was 40, 41. What is
Yeah,
that?
19,
Yeah.
41. That makes sense.
Yeah.
40, 41. So you right away jump back in? Because I don't think so. Right?
I didn't. I took a small gap and then I jumped right back in. I had some GI Bill. I got this job that I have now, and it allows me to work from home and a little extra time. And so I felt called. I felt.
Nice.
I'll be honest. I feel called to the space where I don't know where I'm going to go with it. I don't think I'm a pastor. I don't think I have that personality, that sort of ability to stand in front of people and speak in that way. I don't think I have that gift. But I do want to. I think there's a legitimate war for our children going on, and I
100%.
want to. They go to these universities and they are just bombarded. Everybody wants to be cool. And when you're the lone conservative Christian, you're like, oh, you're not cool. And it's like, that's a lot on a kid.
Yeah.
And so if they just have that one professor that's like, hey, man.
Do you see yourself going that route, professor? education?
Maybe. I'm
embedding
going to.
into the liberal arts university.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and sadly, I'm studying
being that
theology.
ally of
Well, so I did my undergraduate in psychology, which was fairly liberal, but it's a Christian university. And so I was like, I'm going to go to theology.
by title, not by practice.
Right. Yeah, it's a Christian private university. And so I was like, I'm going to go to the theology department and do my master's degree because that's going to be conservative. Boy, was I wrong. There's more of all the things in there, and in fact, it's more overt because I think they can fly under the radar, and they're doing it in the name of Jesus, and so.
So you are.
It's been an
in
eye-opening
theology right now.
Well, I am being exposed to it to be able to get a degree, but yeah. Yeah.
But how valuable though is that in the to understand right, there's value in understanding the enemy's approach and the enemy's tactics and
I
the
have said
enemy's
that. I get to read the enemy's playbook in school.
Do you feel
so-
that in those classes you've got the ability to have a different opinion?
I'll be honest. I tiptoed for probably. I'm 2 years. I have a class and 2 weeks left.
Mm-hmm.
Graduate in May. I would say the first year, I kind of.
your reek.
They may have
You laid low
known.
in the
They may have
class.
known I was a conservative, but I was. I'll be honest. The past 2 or 3 classes, I have taken the gloves off.
do they receive it well, or is it like a shunning of your
My
thoughts and opinions?
my grades don't reflect it. I think they know that as long as I am fulfilling their rubric for grading, they can't. They could, but they
You toe the
shouldn't.
line, syllabus, rubric, the whole deal.
If they say do a 500 word short paper, I'm going to do 1,000 word. I'm gonna
You're hitting them with that
double.
times
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Like, good luck docking me points on this. I hit the syllabus.
And you're the one who
rubric.
would go after them, should they?
I would sue them.
Yeah.
I would hire a lawyer.
I feel
I would
like
go
I
to
know
the
that's
Daily
not what
Wire,
you do.
and I would sue them happily.
The fact that you reference the Daily Wire lets us know where you're at in your life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would.
So, do you shave with Chammy's razor if you decide to get rid of that gray beard?
No, I don't.
Best advertisement maybe ever made was
The flamethrower?
Dude, there's nothing better than the
Yeah,
promo
yeah.
for Jeremy's razor.
Yeah.
Anyways,
A razor has not touched my face since
you-
I last put on my uniform.
but you've taken off the gloves. Like, what does that look like? Right? To Kevin's point, like, what does that look like in the taking off the gloves?
A
Like, what do you mean by
lot
that?
of quotes from the actual Bible instead of
What's good?
liberal theologians, just quotes from their head, lots of quotes from Thomas Sowell.
Yeah.
And
Bro,
there's other resources
I
out
can't
there.
send you a clip or a video or whatever for anybody that is a conservative Christian without you going, I love that person. Most quoted person I use. Oh, yeah, no, I mean, okay, have you seen this one from that? Like, all of them. You're so deep in those weeds in a good way.
Yeah.
But
I've had to, I'll be honest, in grad school, it's not like you get your one book and you just go through the book with your teacher. I get a stack, and it's not like a textbook. It's actual theological works that are sold on the market, like Amazon
Right.
and whatnot. These people are selling their books because of their theology.
and this is what you're constantly. I mean,
And-
you're constantly
and-
posting on
and-
your
and
Instagram and Facebook
these-
and whatnot.
that's-
All these books you're reading.
That's right.
I mean, it's a tower. It's got to be a tower of books.
At this point, it's several books. But every class I'll get like 6 or 8 books, and we'll read one a week, and we write all of our papers on that. And then generally we do like an accumulative project at the end and write over all the books that we've read and what our approach and what we've learned.
Yeah.
Something like that. And, some of these classes have not been, nothing to report, right? But some of them we've done theology of race.
Yeah.
I'm in theology of hospitality now, which is, they basically just
Running and operating a
well,
hotel and or restaurant.
Bed and breakfast. Don't leave those
you
out.
would
That's the
think-
ultimate hospitality.
You would think it would just be how
On
do
that
Christians
topic,
welcome
whatever happened to Bibles in hotels? Is that not a chapter in your class?
The hospitality factor.
Don't knock down the pen. Everyone tries to knock this down. I've got the chair very close to it.
The fact is, what they've done is they've contorted Christian hospitality into, hey, you Christian, you need to accept the fact that your southern border is open and deal with it. And in fact, go vote to just abolish your border. So there's that.
They really are all about abolishing the border.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Well, I mean, they are, to be perfectly honest, these liberal theologians are just an extension of Marxist postmodernism.
You're in school. You're
Very liberal.
You're pursuing a. Yeah, you don't know what that future looks like. You've embraced education, so that's a healthy
Yeah,
thing.
and I kind of want to go into the youth space or the collegiate space, if at all possible.
Ministry wise, or
No, as a
education?
professor, as a teacher of some kind.
Like you think you can end up like in a high school as a high school teacher or like a college professor?
University, college setting, if possible. But this is what I want. We have a lot of people in this country that are veterans that were drawn like a moth to the flame of war and
Sure.
fighting and conflict and right versus wrong, good versus evil. And I'm telling you, that's not the fight. Our country, we don't even know if it's on the side of good or bad anymore because of some of the things they do. But one thing's been drawn in the sand, a line has. We know that there's a spiritual warfare going on now. And a lot of it is playing out, fleshing itself out in the university space. And now it's even working its way back into the high school and even before that. And my appeal to veterans and people of that mind, of a service mindset, of a Christian mindset, of a mindset that's just combative in general. There is a fight that you can't see it, but you can feel it. And to just, for far too long, conservatives have just, I'll start industry. We were the industrious ones. We'll build the economy, and we'll let the liberals educate and fill the media. And we know the long march through the institutions, the Frankfurt School. These people have infiltrated the mechanisms that potentially affect a culture the most.
Yep.
And it's my intention to move back into those spaces. To get the right people in the right, we gotta, and whether that, surreptitiously sneaking in and telling, just playing the dove, I don't know if I'm conservative or liberal, and then getting in the space by whatever means, or if you can get in by nepotism, it doesn't matter. But getting into these spaces to be a part of this fight that is clearly taking place for the minds of our children.
You can be a diversity hire.
I can.
Yeah.
Because I'm a disabled veteran, and I currently am.
Yeah.
That's how I got my job.
Well, and here's the thing about it, man. Like, no matter where our culture continues to go, no matter where society continues to tank at, like, there is always going to be a need, and God will always make a space for that person who steps up and goes, I'm going to fight for your youth, and I'm going to do it in an honorable way.
Yeah. I think,
like, we can't, like, and I think I know you well enough to know that you would never go the route of anything dishonorable or malicious or anything, but just I'm going to honor those around me who, in the best way I can, right? I mean, within reason, right? I mean, there is a point where you can't step outside of, God's command. You can't step out of Jesus' call, but within the realm of Jesus' call, you'll honor those who you can, but you're going to fight for the youth, and you're, like, I think that's wild, right, man? Like, I commend you for that. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad to know that there's still people who are willing to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I've got an 18-year-old who we're figuring out the whole, going off to college, and she's been accepted to a handful of places. And it's like, okay, like, but no matter what, we're going to, it's like, okay, do we go to University of Tennessee? Do we go to Louisville? Do we go to Southern Illinois? Do we go to, University of Indiana? But all of these places where you go to their websites, and the number one thing what they list as their priority?
Diversity.
DEI. Mm-hmm. It's their number one priority. The number one priority is making sure that they express it. And like, so my daughter's very much like, here's where I'm grateful for it. My 18-year-old is very much my kid, my adult, the adult that we've raised at this point, man. Like,
she'll always be your kid.
Yeah. 100%. She's my little girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if somebody gets out of pocket, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to ask for forgiveness before I ask for permission.
Yeah.
I'll put you in a dark place forever.
Yeah.
But like, you get into this spot where it's like, we need people that are going to fight for our kids and trying to help navigate how to navigate this world. She's very much like this. We were sitting having dinner the other night. That's why I was up in Chicago. I was having dinner with her, and she's like, there's this table of, 18, 19, 20-year-olds that are just F this and F that, just profanity, and just, you're in public. Like, what are you doing? Like, I mean, like, you want to be an idiot in private, that's fine, but being an idiot in public, that's another thing. And she looks at me and she goes, this is why we need bullies dead.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
She goes, she's like, look, like, if nothing else, just to let them know, like, you can't get away with being an idiot forever. Like, I'm a believer that bullies are needed. Our anti-bully campaign in schools has really hurt kids because kids need to be too confident and kind of become bullies. And the unconfident kids need to step up and punch the bully in the mouth, because I believe bullies are necessary and violence is an acceptable response. Mm-hmm. And when you're 8 years old, my 8-year-old just went through this, right? Like, when you're an idiot and then you decide to stand up for yourself as to fight the bully, the idiot being the bully, like both of those kids are better off, and nobody's really long term hurt.
Yep.
There's not guns and knives and any other crazy thing. Nobody's going to the hospital. They learned their lesson, right? And our youth are better off for it. And we have handicapped our youth from really growing up to where they're so immature at 18, 19 years old when they go off by themselves that now on college campuses it runs rampant.
Yeah.
And they're susceptible to anything you want to tell them. And I think that's done intentionally.
Yeah.
But we need people that are going to step in and go, "Hey, I'm here to fight for the kids. I'm here to fight for, for Jesus's brother and sisters, for God's children."
Yeah.
Yeah. And I commend you for that, man. I'm grateful that you're doing it because as a guy with 4 kids, I'm glad to know someone's doing it because, we can all step into our spaces, but that's not the space I was called into.
Yeah. Bullies are bad, but
necessary.
they establish hierarchies. And in hierarchies, you learn what you're good at and what you're bad at. The left is notoriously against any hierarchy.
Sure.
That's why everyone gets a first place ribbon, and that's where it all started. And, there's a saying in China where it's like the tallest nail gets the hammer.
Yep.
If you're rising above someone else, their culture will flatten you down to match the rest. They don't want any standouts. And that's anathema to the American ideal. We don't have Elon Musk if we don't have hierarchies.
100%.
We need those people to rise to.
We need the Elons, the Joe Rogans. We need the people who go, I'm going to be adverse to this. I'm going to rise above. I'm going to stand out in a space that I created on my own.
That's right.
Yeah.
You need people that rise above to the highest degree of their intellect and ability and interest. Will take them, and they can innovate. That's how we get cars. That's how we get medicine.
What? Bro, have you ever been in one of Elon's cars?
Nah. Yeah, I've got a buddy that had one, and they're kind of creepy because they're like they're on magnetic or something.
Have you been in a Tesla? I think it's called S-Plaid.
I have no idea what my buddy had. Shout out, John.
Did he have one that looked like a Prius, or did he have one that looked like a super coupe sports car?
Sports car-y.
Coupey sports car? Like a coupe? Little.
Sure. Yeah, it had like no back seat.
Bro, the S-Plaid does like 0 to 60 in like, I think it's like 1.8 seconds. I could be wrong.
Absurd.
Maybe,
it's absurd.
I'm telling you, I got to drive one. Mm-hmm. Do you realize you don't use the brake pedal in those cars? Bro, it like scans everything around you and it'll just stop itself. Like here's your point, right? Like the ability to rise above. The car operates unlike any other vehicle you've ever had. You hit the gas, it's like a spaceship.
Yeah.
It just goes. But then the screen is scanning and essentially giving you like a virtual reality version of everything around you. It prints everything around you. It's insane.
Yeah.
I was terrified to drive this car.
Yeah.
Because the guy who owns it. So, all right, my buddy Mark, our buddy Mark, who was told he wasn't smart enough to be a fighter pilot.
Yeah, yeah.
So then he went to the Army.
Yeah.
His father-in-law. I'm driving Steve's car, and I'm like, I don't want to buy you a new one. He was given this as a gift of appreciation from his employer.
It's a good employer.
Dope. And let me tell you, he's the CFO of a chain of animal hospitals. Yeah, none of that adds up. I'm on board with that. None of it adds up. They're probably part of like the mafia, they're the Chicago mob, and they're definitely laundering money. But he got a car out the deal, so shout out to him.
Yeah.
Right. Also, please don't investigate him because he's the nicest man on earth, and I don't think he'd be involved with anything nefarious on purpose. So, all right. Hey, we just went into like a really deep conversation, and I'm grateful for that. However, let's get into adult Boy Scouts. All right, so Gavin, can you cheer for this? Can we get a clap? So here's the deal. We've talked about this. You've shared this with me, right? So you love Jesus. You're a super outdoorsy guy.
Yeah.
Right. You're a pretty dude, right? You're the guy that on Saturdays we work out at your house now, and you draw up PTA on the whiteboard.
Yep.
Pain, torture, agony. On the whiteboard.
Yeah.
Right? PTA. That is what they called it when I was in high school wrestling.
That's funny.
Welcome to PT. Welcome to your PTA meeting.
Yeah. Did you wrestle 103?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Definitely did.
Yeah.
By the way, side note, when I was in high school, heavyweight, so there was a 215 class, and then heavyweight was 275.
That's what I wrestled, 215.
Yeah. So our 215, I was the 275, and our 215 won state 4 years in a row. Qualified for, took first his junior and senior year, took second, and then first place is junior, second place is senior at nationals. Qualified for the world travel team, represented USA.
Whoa.
He was my training partner. You ready for your first sense of profanity on the podcast?
Yeah, go ahead.
Whooped my ass every day.
Sounds like
that boy.
everybody was.
He was
getting-
our fullback, and I was our left tackle. And he'd bulk up to like 230 as our fullback.
Yeah.
And then he'd just cut weight through wrestling season and hit 215 just in time
stud
for to have enough meets to qualify. I mean, absolute stud. Went to University of Illinois on a scholarship. Wrestled. I mean, just a beast. Pat Bronson. Now
That's a tough name.
Can I say Pat Bronson, bro? Can I tell you,
Bronson.
Pat now he's a franchise owner, owns a handful of Jimmy John's. Kills it.
Nice.
Kills it.
Good for him.
Good dude, man. Like, and this is a dude who like grew up in the trailer park outside of town.
Yeah.
Came from nothing, bro.
Yeah.
Got in trouble with his parents, but he got busted in high school for drinking because he went home not knowing that his buddies had drawn things on him with Sharpies.
Shout out to
I
Pat.
was not part of the artistry. I was not one of the artists.
Yeah.
That was not me. But like this dude was, I mean, he was a bad dude, but he made it happen. But anyway, I digress. But what were we talking about?
Adult Boy Scouts.
Yeah, adult Boy Scouts, right? So all right, so let's get
Rabbit
to
chasing.
Yeah, bro, I'm
ADHD.
So 100%, dude. I need meds for that. So let's get to adult Boy Scouts. We've talked about this, and how you've described it to me is, right. So in ministry, like at least that's what sparked the conversation. I don't know how much in your heart and brain it aligns with ministry. Mm-hmm. However, it is as if I get this right, you see this as like you want to create this platform, this outlet for men to experience everything from, hey, if you're stuck in the woods and you had to survive for, let's call it, whatever, a week, right? That you would have the skill set to survive, right? To forage for food, to, secure shelter, whatever it may be. But all the way from that skill set, all the way to the opposite end of the spectrum of appreciating literature and poetry. Mm-hmm. And as we've talked about it, right, we've boiled that down to really being like what really would be a true Renaissance man.
Yeah.
Right. The person that goes, I can defend my family. I have that particular set of skills, as Liam Neeson would put it. But also I genuinely value and appreciate everything from literature to architecture to whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So, but like, how do we do that? How do we do that, Clay? Because you have the best leather-bound case for your Bible. I want to know the things you know and not just get my ass whooped at your house on a Saturday because you drew up a workout where I had to live on your death bike.
Death bike.
Death bike, bro.
Yeah.
Death bike.
It's skill sharing. You have to identify someone in your community that has a particular skill set that is something other people want to know and need to know. And have those people, cycle through. You remember the Jewish...
Yeah, back to where we started.
Yeah, we're back to where we started. The Jewish
That
cycle of money.
Yeah.
The same thing with skill sharing sets. So, it's like,
community.
hey, you're the fitness guy. We're going to come by every Saturday and work out. And you just identify it because we live in a world of specialists, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hunter-gatherers, they lived in a world where everybody kind of do everything. Mm-hmm. And you might be able to shoot a bow a little better than me, and I might be able to skin the deer a little better than you. But our skill sets were mostly similar.
Yeah, there was definitely
Yeah.
less to do.
Yeah,
so-
there's less to do. There's not all this specialization. We live in a culture today that's completely siloed off from one another, and you pick a lane. And I think part of this came from all the things I did in the Air Force and all the things I did before the Air Force. I've had a bunch of jobs, and I've always just, if I'm anything in this world, I'm trainable. I will listen and I will train and I will
Clearly, if somebody says
listen.
it's time to cross
I
train,
will
you're in
cross
that.
train. You remember those old '90s Bo Knows, and it just showed him doing all the things.
Bro.
I was always just
Bo Jackson
I
was
was
the hero
I'm
of
the-
every
yeah.
child through the 80s
Yeah.
and 90s, dude.
And I think that specialization is good.
Yeah,
right.
sure.
Being the pinnacle, being the Elon Musk, but also, as a community, we kind of benefit from learning from one another. Like, you don't need to be so siloed off from my skill sets that like there's no exchange there whatsoever.
Right.
Basic plumbing, and if we have a plumber in the group, hey man, can you show me, like, don't just come over here and like I'll pay you for your time, but if we're in a community, like, hey, I'll do this for you and you do this for me, and
we
that
all
way
become a little
I
more
can
self-sufficient.
function higher in that regard. And whether it's outdoor survival or hunting, I can't tell you the last. I grew up hunting, and I've had people who want to get into it. Something about COVID. I feel like people saw COVID and connected it finally. Like, oh, when the trucks aren't delivering food,
It was the going to the grocery
it's
store
not
and
there anymore.
there was nothing there.
When
The
semis
toilet
stop,
paper.
What are you gonna do?
The toilet paper kind of said something to some people, and they realized, like, oh man, I'm one catastrophe away from starving. And I've had people, oh hey, you're an outdoorsy guy, right? I don't know how to gut a deer, and I'm like, well, kill one, and I'll come over. It's like, or we'll go hunting.
Yeah.
And people need to know those things. You need to know how to track a deer.
I don't know.
The simple sign you look for to know, are deer traveling through here? People don't know that. I mean, and it's something you could go buy a magazine or watch a video, but it's way more fun to learn from your bud
100%.
and share that experience. And oh, hey, by the way, I have this skill set. Would you like to learn it?
You gonna teach me how to hunt?
Yeah,
I've never hunted. I didn't grow up in a home where we hunted, man.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about that because as a guy who came from, the suburbs of Chicago, and yeah, I grew up out in like some cornfields, but my parents didn't teach us how to hunt. My dad didn't. My dad wasn't a hunter. My dad had some buddies that kind of taught him a little bit.
Yeah.
I never got exposed to that.
Yeah.
So, coming to Tennessee, like I went and figured out firearms on my own with some help of some friends, and figured out what I liked, and spent time in the range and got trained on how to handle firearms. But it's a matter of like when it comes to hunting and whatnot, like I want to learn that stuff. So
Yeah.
I want to learn leather working.
Yeah.
Like I see the stuff you make, and I think it's great. So I'm grateful for that. But,
Yeah, I picked that up in COVID. I was bored and I was stuck at home, and I was still military, and I was a military
picked
civilian.
up bourbon.
But
COVID.
yeah, I had to. But yeah, I was like, my granddad did leather work, right? And so I was like, I'm gonna do that. So I literally was just Googling, and I was still, there was before they sent us home fully, because the DoD,
Yeah.
the Department of Defense, is always a little slow, and they had not sent us home, and I was just Googled on my phone like leatherworking shops, and I realized there's a place around the corner from where I worked, and I literally went in and it came out with like a giant bag of gear and like rolls of leather and all the stuff the basics you need, and I just started watching YouTube videos. But I realized not everybody has that sort of self-starter thing about them. They're not going to forge into those things without a buddy sitting next to them, and so I think that community is a big part, and we need to learn from one another. We need to, whatever you can dream up skill set wise.
You want to start hosting some of those classes, like just literally in my driveway in the garage?
Sure.
Do it at your house, my house.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've got a goal of I've got a couple whiskey barrels, man. I've got a goal of having a bunch of people contribute and creating like an infinity barrel.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody pours back into the barrel, and maybe we do that. And we do a little. We do some leather stuff. We do some. Whatever. We do some of these things, man.
Yeah.
You wanna
Yeah.
do that?
Yeah. We need to get like a battery of skills that we we think these are the
Yeah.
you
Yeah, we
know,
just start doing this stuff.
you know,
man.
honestly, I think fitness, rucking, packing a backpack, which is, you know, a skill set. You know, you don't want to pack it wrong.
We've got like a
There's a
JanSport.
way to put all the stuff in to balance it all. Camping, we probably need to do a men's like backpacking trip.
So like a men's
Learn how
camping
to-
trip, canoe trip, that I know how to do that one of those. We've been doing those for years, bro.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I'm down.
all right, let's do that stuff. But we've been doing this for a long time. Like he's like Tony, Gavin. We have to have him keep coming back because we can talk for 17 hours about stuff.
Tony, you need to get us both in here.
Bro, we've talked about it. So I've got it. So I've got a fourth mic set up that'll go over on the desk. We'll put Gavin in the desk. We'll put Tony in a chair, and the four of us will just deep dive theology, biblical. Bro, like I'm in on that. But that'll be that's got to be like a Saturday morning, where we've got 4 hours to go, and then we can go get lunch and just replenish our nourishments because we're gonna be exhausted.
Absolutely. We get my buddy David, who you were watching, get him in here for some theology. There's all sorts of there's people out there that what I've learned in delving into the world of theology and anything, whenever you think you kind of know of a thing, and then you go, I'm gonna look into that, and you start getting into it, you realize, oh, there's levels.
Yeah.
There's levels to this.
100%.
And that's everything.
Yep.
And you got to figure out, hey, who's at the top level and how can I get exposed to him, which will expedite my process up this steep incline and save you a bunch of time. And, you know, that's all. You just skill sharing, finding who's the expert and getting their information.
Well, part of it's taking a little bit of their skills, but also just building that network.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I think the end goal would be like to make every man in our group a Swiss Army knife instead of a particular tool.
100%.
We all need to be Swiss Army knives.
What is that? Like jack of all trades, master of none.
That's right.
Still sometimes better than a master of none.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be a jack of all trades is important.
Yeah.
We always look at it as a negative. We cast it as a negative because we forget the entire phrase that went with it. But a lot of times, jack of all trades will do you a lot more good than that singular master. So
That's right.
that's it's cool. Man, I'm excited for what you want to do.
Yeah.
And we're on board to do it with you. So. But dope, dude. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
We'll do this like 18 more times.
Oh,
we
man.
have no idea what we're doing.
I'm available.
Bro.
You know where I live.
I know where you live, and I know that all I got to do is ask your wife to bake us some goods, and she'll be preoccupied. She can't even pay attention to you.
That's fact.
Also, next time we got to talk about the fact that you painted your entire living room and office space, den space, black, because your house is. It's such a dope setup. Like it's no. Next time, do not next time, fool. Next time we are out of
making
time.
a list.
Gotcha.
Podcast is in. We got to go to Papa P's.
Okay.
We're gonna go have a cigar. We're gonna hang out.
Okay.
But yeah, bro, it's 7:00. We're doing this.
We're also going to talk about why you have 2 watches on next time.
Fitness time.
Yeah,
Which
'cause
they
you're a
both. This one has time.
Fitness and time. But
It has time.
You
It
don't
has
need the
date.
Timex, bro.
It has date. It has the temperature.
Tell me what your Timex, Casio.
This thing's got barometric pressure on it. It's got.
You need an Apple Watch,
same.
bro, to tell you all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, or a Google Watch, or a Garmin. I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, dope.
I need that. Yeah. Yeah.
Appreciate you.
All right.